Get comfortable with English and comfort. This is your English listening practice podcast to help you learn and improve naturally.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to another episode of English and Comfort, where you learn English by listening to real, everyday conversations. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Mark.
Glad to have you here again.
Same here. I'm really excited about today's topic.
Oh yes, today's topic is one of the most common problems every English learner faces.
That's right. It's about confidence. How to talk to anyone in English without feeling nervous. Even when learners know the words, sometimes it just doesn't come out.
I see that a lot online too. Learners often write, "I can't speak English when I want to with people." But when we look at their writing, it's usually really good. Grammar is correct. The sentences are simple and clear.
So, the problem isn't that learners don't know English. They do. The problem is using it. Actually saying it out loud. Getting themselves to speak.
And the reason learners struggle is often because they think too much before speaking. They plan every word. But here's the key. You have to speak spontaneously.
Spontaneously.
Yes, that's our word of the day. Spontaneously means saying something naturally in the moment, without overthinking. For example, learners might meet a new person and instead of thinking, "What should I say? Should I start with a question?" They just say, "Hi, how's your day going?"
That's it. They're not overthinking, they're just speaking naturally.
Or when learners tell a story to a friend. They don't try to plan every sentence perfectly, they just tell it spontaneously.
Many learners pause too much because they want it perfect. But the more they do that, the more nervous they feel.
Exactly. Speaking spontaneously is the first step to building real confidence. Mistakes are okay, that's part of learning.
Yeah. And when learners speak naturally, the conversation flows. They don't feel so pressured.
It works for beginners as well. Even with a small vocabulary, speaking spontaneously allows learners to communicate clearly.
Completely agree. Once learners start practicing this, it becomes easier over time. I realized a lot of learners think speaking English confidently means speaking fast.
Oh yes, that's a very common misconception.
Right? But that's completely wrong. Speaking fast often makes learners more nervous, and they can't think clearly.
Speaking slowly and clearly is way more effective than trying to rush through sentences.
That's it. Speaking slowly gives time to pronounce each word correctly and think about what comes next.
And it's not just for beginners. Even advanced learners benefit. Slow speech shows confidence.
It also helps the listener understand them better, especially if their accent is different.
Right. Articulating well is part of confidence. Simple, clear words are perfect.
Many learners feel awkward at first when they try speaking slowly. It feels unnatural, but after some practice, it starts feeling normal. Confidence grows, and also, taking time reduces stress. Learners are not rushing or panicking for the next word.
Right. It also gives the brain a little break to choose the right words.
So combining spontaneous speaking with speaking slowly is very powerful.
Learners would speak naturally, but at a pace that helps both them and the listener.
Many beginners don't realize this. They try to speak fast to seem fluent, but it does the opposite.
Yes. Fluency isn't about speed. That's a really common misconception.
Sometimes, even when learners speak spontaneously and slowly, sometimes words just don't come out, right?
Right. That happens to everyone, even in their native language.
When that happens, learners often freeze. They feel stressed, and it's harder to speak. And that's why using filler words is so helpful. They buy time while the brain finds the right word.
Yes. Filler words like well, so, you know, actually. Using these helps keep the conversation flowing.
A lot of people think filler words look unprofessional or that they won't look confident. But they're completely normal. Even native speakers use them. They make speech feel natural and give a moment to think without stopping completely. So all you have to do when talking is combine filler words with small pauses or gestures to feel more natural.
Small pauses help learners sound confident and calm, and listeners usually don't notice.
So, using filler words relieves pressure and keeps conversations moving. Once learners get used to this, speaking spontaneously becomes much easier. It's a great trick when you're already talking with someone.
But learners still sometimes feel nervous before speaking. That's why preparation is important.
Right? We have to be prepared.
But preparation doesn't mean planning perfect sentences. Learners can't know exactly what someone will say. Preparation is about training the mouth and brain to speak English naturally.
Like practicing out loud, reading a book, article, or dialogue. All these are preparations that help learners' mouths get used to English.
English uses different mouth movements. Speaking out loud daily helps sentences feel automatic.
So, what we always advise you to do is start reading out loud. This is really useful and important. Of course, you might stumble at first, mispronouncing words or pausing awkwardly.
Yeah, but over time, the speech becomes more confident and smooth.
Even 5 minutes a day helps.
That's right. Even 5 minutes a day helps. It trains learners to form sentences without translating in their heads. They can practice tone, emphasis, and pauses. This makes speech sound natural. The goal is to make speaking comfortable and normal.
And even practicing alone builds confidence. Using English without pressure. Just talking in English to yourself or reading out loud alone. No one is there to notice mistakes. Another challenge learners face is their accent.
Yes, many worry about sounding like a native speaker.
Learners sometimes try to copy American or British accents and get frustrated because it feels impossible.
That frustration often stops them from speaking at all.
Every learner has an accent. Even native speakers have accents depending on where they're from. Your accent is part of your identity. Instead of erasing it, you can embrace it.
Yes, your accent is like your voice's signature, unique and personal. Improving pronunciation while keeping your accent makes speech clear and confident.
Learners who accept their accent speak more freely.
So, confidence isn't about sounding like someone else. It's about speaking comfortably with your own voice. Even a unique accent can be beautiful. Of course, learning a different accent is optional, not required for confidence.
So the main goal here is to speak clearly, comfortably, and stop overthinking about the accent.
Another thing often overlooked is listening. Many learners focus only on speaking, but listening is just as important.
You're right. To speak confidently, learners need to hear English naturally every day.
Exactly. Daily listening helps the brain recognize patterns, phrases, and vocabulary.
Watching movies or TV with subtitles is helpful too.
Or listening to podcasts, news, or stories. All of these make learners' English richer.
If you do that daily, you'll notice words and phrases come out more easily after listening regularly. And the brain stops translating word by word. Speech feels natural.
Also, you don't need to understand everything perfectly. Just hearing English naturally is enough. Over time, words and phrases come out more easily. Listening builds understanding, confidence, and helps learners respond spontaneously.
Here's my tip. Listen to things you enjoy. Because when you enjoy what you're listening to, it doesn't feel like studying, and it helps improve your English a lot. You know, Mark, we always say listen to real English. We say it a lot.
Yes, we do. And learners might wonder, what do we actually mean by real English?
Real English doesn't mean difficult English. It means English that people really use in everyday life.
The kind of English you hear in conversations. Simple phrases, natural expressions. Short sentences. Not textbook English, not very formal or unnatural sentences that no one really says. When learners only study textbook English, they might speak correctly, but it can sound a bit strange.
Grammatically correct, but not natural.
Right? That's why listening to real English is so important. It teaches learners how people actually speak, how they start sentences, how they pause, how they react.
And when you listen to real English every day, your speaking changes naturally. You stop sounding like a book and start sounding like a person.
So, if you want to improve your speaking, listening to real English is essential.
And one more important thing, don't be afraid of making mistakes.
Oh yes,
Let's imagine two learners who want to speak English. The first learner is afraid of making mistakes, so they don't speak at all. They stay quiet. They avoid conversations. But the second learner speaks anyway. They make many mistakes. Sometimes it's embarrassing. Sometimes it's funny. But they keep speaking. They remember their mistakes and correct them. New mistakes come, and that's normal. That's progress. Now think about the first learner. How will they improve if they never speak?
they won't notice what they need to work on.
Right. That's the difference. That's the key. If you don't stumble at first, you're probably not practicing enough. So, Mark, let's think about what we talked about today.
That's right.
Speaking spontaneously but slowly. Using filler words. Practicing out loud. Embracing your accent. Listening every day to real English. And not being afraid of mistakes.
Speaking confidently isn't about perfection. It's about communication and consistency.
Small habits make the biggest difference.
All right, let's go over the key words and phrases from today. Spontaneously. It means speaking naturally in the moment, without overthinking. For example, learners can answer a question spontaneously without planning their sentences. Articulate. It means speaking clearly so others understand. For example, learners articulate each word carefully so listeners understand. Awkward. This means feeling uncomfortable or embarrassed. For example, learners often feel awkward when they don't know what to say in English. Filler words. These are words like, well, so, you know, that buy time while thinking. For example, learners use filler words to keep the conversation flowing when stuck. Buy you time. It means giving yourself a moment to think while speaking. For example, using let me see can buy you time for the next word. Fluency. Speaking smoothly and naturally without long pauses. For example, learners improve fluency by practicing speaking out loud daily. Native. A native speaker is someone who speaks a language as their first language. For example, native speakers speak quickly, but learners can still speak clearly at their own pace. Flow. Here it means how smoothly a conversation moves. For example, when learners speak spontaneously and slowly, their English has a natural flow. Accent. An accent is the way words are pronounced depending on where someone is from. For example, learners should embrace their accent and speak confidently. Overlooked. It means something often forgotten or ignored. For example, listening practice is often overlooked but very important. Embrace. To embrace something means to accept and use something positively. For example, learners can embrace their accent to make their English unique and confident. Stumble. It means making small mistakes or hesitating when speaking. For example, learners often stumble at first, but that's a normal part of learning to speak. Real English. It means natural, everyday English used in real conversations. For example, listening to real English helps learners sound natural, not like a textbook. And that's it for today's episode about how to talk to anyone confidently.
Thank you for spending time with us.
Now tell us, what's one small thing you want to try this week to speak more confidently in English?
We'd love to hear from you in the comments. And for more slow, clear English listening practice, make sure to subscribe to English in Comfort.
Keep practicing, keep improving, and take care, everyone.